So what is Bastion hostless? That's a question for today. Bastion hostless is access to your private instances without exposing any public port or without exposing any services to internet with advanced logging, with tunnel to your PC or tunnel to your instance, and you need to see it by yourself. So what is Bastion hostless? It is what it says. It's removal of the Bastion host from your infrastructure, allowing you secure connectivity to your private infrastructure to cloud. I want to talk today about Google Content Aware proxy. That's not my topic today, but I will try to show you another solution for AWS. One of the solutions is Teleport, and Teleport is independent solution. You can go to page Go Teleport, and they allow you to connect to via public load balancer, and this public load balancer can contact proxy service which talks with authentication service, and the authentication service talks to key value store, the object store. They can manage your certificates, your keys, so you don't need to care about all of these things. And only thing the developers use is one shell. It's a T shell, and this T shell is allowing you to connect to your Kubernetes services or to your database or to your EC2 instances. This is just a perfect solution. And when I will look at their documentation, you can deploy it with Kubernetes. So there are Helm charts that are ready to roll. You can go use them, deploy on your EKS, and you can just run with that. And that's very beautiful thing to do with it, because you don't need to put too much effort in development, and you will get advanced auditing, just-in-time access, all of these things with one platform. So when we'll talk about something that I want to rise today, is amazing and powerful tool called Session Manager. AWS Session Manager is part of AWS System Manager, so you don't need to expose any ports, any ports, including the port 22 to internet, and it allows you to connect via AWS CLI to your private instances. This is absolutely amazing. It supports the cross-platform, so that means you can do it from Windows, Linux, Mac OS, whenever you will select. And also, what is super amazing, there's advanced logging and auditing, so you can use CloudWatch, or you can use S3 buckets, encrypted with validation, everything that you want in place with the Session Manager. And that's where I want to deep dive today. So let's have fun with the Bastion hostless access in AWS with Session Manager. Here I have the instance which doesn't have any security keys, and I want to access it through the Bastion hostless access through Session Manager. So how to do it? First thing that I need to do is assign the role to the EC2 instance. So for that, I need to create IAM role. So I will say, okay, I will create the IAM role, and this IAM role needs to be the instance core role. So I will go to the policies, and I will say core. This is very cool to find it, and it will be IAM instance manage core. So okay, Amazon SSM manage instance core is the right policy that we are looking for. So what I can do, I can say I will create a role, and I will click on create role, and this role will be for EC2. I will click on next, and then I will find the core. So I will click on core, and it will be AWS SSM manage instance core. Here I will click on this role, click on next, and I will name it IAM SSM. That will be the name of the role, and then I can add some tags. I will say okay, environment will be dev. Fine, I will create the role, and we should be ready to review it. And now we have the role. So role is created, it should be super fast. And now I need to go to EC2 console. So I will go back to EC2, and I will say, okay, there is one running instance. This is the Bastion hostless access. So what I can do, I will click on security here and modify the IAM role. So I need to attach the role to the instance itself, and it will be AWS IAM SSM. So I will update the role. So the role will be updated immediately, and then when I will try to connect, it should be possible to run the Session Manager. You see the Session Manager because there is a Session Manager agent for connecting to that instance, and I can connect directly. So what I want to show you, there is a session manager also in AWS System Manager, because this is a System Manager part. So let's go to System Manager, and it should be very easy. So when I will go to the Session Manager here, pretty simple, and I can click on Start Session. So this is another way how I can start the session. Then I will click here on the Bastion hostless access, and it's super simple. So I don't need to expose any ports to internet. I don't need to have any access to internet. I don't need to have port 22 exposed to internet. This is really cool because I can even access the private instances in my AWS with the extension for AWS CLI. So I can select this one, and because there is the role and there is a Amazon SSM or System Manager agent running there, so I can click on Start Session. And what it will do, it will start the session for me. So I will, okay, and it will show me, okay, I'm in the user bin, and I will say, okay, ls, I can do cd and ls, and it will show you that there are some directories where I am now based, and I will say, okay, who am I? So you will see that I'm logged in as SSM user. So it will use an SSM user, and it will connect me to the instance. So I will click on exit, and I will terminate the instance session. So what I will have here, there is a session history, which will tell me, hey, you were connected as a root from this user to this instance, and it's terminated. You can even click on CloudWatch logs if there are some created. So I can go to preferences and I can edit them because I want to log the information. And that's also very simple. So I can say, hey, let's enable the CloudWatch logging, stream session logs, and then I can select, see that there are some things that I already can use, some log groups that I can, enter and use. I can upload the session logs, stream session logs. There are two different options that I can do. Session logs are sent at the end. Streaming are during the session. If you want to have thorough monitoring, you need to do it during the session. That's the key. And also you can see the stored bytes during the session. So, okay, I will say this is it. And I can even enable the logging to S3 bucket, which will do the same thing. It will just store the log files in the S3. And you see here, you can choose the bucket from the bucket list, or you can enter the bucket name. So I will say, okay, here is the bucket list that I can use. I can say, okay, log it into Hackitect. So I will do it. And I will only encrypt the buckets. Okay, that's fine. Linux shell profile. I can set up even Windows shell profile. And that's just a very simple implementation that you can even implement with the Terraform. And it will be very, 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 very easy. So for the session in the CloudWatch, I can say, okay, stream the session logs. And I can select some CloudWatch group. And I will select, for example, Secrets Manager Architect. Okay, no. That's not the correct one. Maybe I should create a new one. Or I can enter the name of the group in the text box. So I can select one. Okay, maybe I can use EKS, but I don't want to do that because it's dedicated to EKS. And I can say, hey, it can be Lambda, Secrets Manager, or whenever. So I will maybe skip this one because I don't have any CloudWatch logging here, so I can enable that or disable that, and I will send the session logs to S3 for now. So I will save that settings, and you see that the session logs CloudWatch streaming is disabled, and there is a session history. So I can click again to start session. I can say reason maintenance. And on this Bastion host, or Bastion hostless access, no Bastion host, sorry for that, no Bastion host. And you can even run the documents, but I don't want to run any SSM documents or system manager documents. So I will start the session. And when I will start the session, it will start the console for me. Okay, I don't have access to the S3 bucket, which means I need to debug the EC2 access. So I need to go to EC2. I will give it full access just for this demo. And that's it, because for the CloudWatch logs, you will need to have also the permissions. So I need to go to roles, so in the IIM. So I will write IIM roles. And I will say, okay, this is IIM. And in the role that I have here, I will need to do some changes. So I will go to roles, I will go to SSM, and here is the role, and I can add the new policy to that. So I will attach policies, I will say S3, and I will say, okay, Amazon S3 full access, don't do that in production. This is pretty nasty permission. And now the instance should have the full access to AWS S3 bucket. So what is the next step? Let's go back to System Manager, and I will go to System Manager, Session Manager. So we have new role and it's updated, and I will start the session again. I will not provide any reason for this moment. I will skip this one and start the session. Okay, you must select instance for the session. So non-selected. I will go to previous, and you see here I need to select the instance, next, and start session. And now it should be okay. Now we are okay because we have the proper permissions for the S3, just to share the logs, store the logs, and even get the permissions for the SSM. So now what I can do, I will say, okay, ls ll, and it will list the commands. So it should be, the output should be visible for me. I will say vim hello.txt. Then I can, I can go out from this one. Okay, blah, 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 blah. I can write something, and okay. I will be able to quit it. Yes. Maybe just quit it, because add override. Okay, I will override it. What you can see that, it should log also what I did in the terminal itself, and it should be visible even in the VI. So when I will terminate that instance or this session, I will go to session history, and here you see the maintenance which failed, and here in the root, the last one, there are CloudWatch logs in the first one, and we can check if there are some logs for the serverless top 10, because it should have access to CloudWatch in the first point. Okay, there are no logs because there is no access from the IAM permissions. So when I will go back, I will need to go to SAM, Systems Manager. I will go to Session Manager, and it's also pretty simple. And in the session history, the last one that I have is Amazon S3. So that is the output location, and that logs should be stored here. Only reason why we don't have storage logs for the CloudWatch in the first session, because we do not have permissions, and there was also even wrong CloudWatch groups where we are logging. So that's the properties that we need to set up. So when I will go to Architect again, there should be, you see that there are some other files that I'm storing there for different purposes, and that is a root log. So I will open that log just to get visibility. Okay, I think that I need to do it here in the browser itself. So I will do it, and I will try to maybe open it in the browser. I don't think so that you will see it here. So let's open that file. I overlaid the files for you just to show you what is there, and when you will see that there's a session that I enabled. So that is ls. It should be visible better, but this is because of the encoding, and it will show me all the files that are listed. So even the output of the command is visible. So when I open Vim, because I will scroll down, there should be even visible that I was doing something in Vim, that I was trying to find something and write. So if there are any errors, I was not able to write it, or I was not able to do anything. You see the VQ is not found, blah, 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 blah. So that are the issues that I was able to find and see. So if there will be any problem, you can easily debug it. If you want to see inside, for example, Nano and other tools, you should be able to see it. And this is great for any debugging and any work with Session Manager. And another cool thing that I really recommend to test is using AWS expansion for AWS CLI. For the Session Manager plugin, you need to install it based on the instruction in AWS documentation. So there is a documentation for macOS, Linux, Ubuntu, whenever. Follow it thoroughly, test if your implementation works, and then we can go to command line. So if you have AWS SSM installed, at least the extension itself, what you can do, you can click on, or you can write AWS SSM start session -- target and then the instance ID. You will hit enter and it will connect you through the session manager to the instance. It will tell you who you are. You can list the files whenever, and then I can exit it. And when I would exit, it will tell me, yeah, it was root with the session ID and exited from that instance. Now we can look at the logs inside of AWS. I'm now in the session history and we can check the different access logs that I already used. So for example, you see that here there was an instance of connectivity, and even here there was a root. And if you want to look at that, you should see that the proper timing is here. That's the last one. And you see that this is terminated session. So I can click on Amazon S3 and it will again show me the logs. So it will be another log file that I can open. I can click on object URL. I don't have access denied. That's correct because I shouldn't have access to it. But if you will open the logs, you can download them and you can see what's inside. And it will be the same thing that we wrote already into our instance. So what is also important, if you have some session already running, what you can do, you can click here and you can terminate that session. I'll say terminate and it will terminate that session immediately. So if you have some intruders in your system, then okay, let's shoot them down. Like not literally, but just from the session. And this is all that I want to show you. It's really cool thing because you don't need any Bastion host. You don't need any special proxies to connect to your environment. You just need to use Session Manager. Now, plenty of other tools. If you look at Google Cloud, they have their own context-aware proxies. If you look at Teleport solution, that's also a very cool solution that helps you to connect to the system. But this is something that I want to show you today. And I still hope that you enjoyed my messy demo. So thank you for staying with me today. Let's review together the role itself. I think this is super important. That's why I'm showing you that. When you will go to full access, it will show you, hey, you can do everything on S3 and S3 object lambda permissions or APIs. And that's for storing the logs in S3 bucket. The second one is for the SSM. So it shows that you need to have SSM permissions for the system manager, session manager. So there is a session manager, create a control channel, create a data channel, open the data channel. This is everything what you need for the session manager and even for the EC2 connectivity. And all of that is super great because you really don't need to open any port 22 to have access as SSH access to your Bastion host and then to your infrastructure. Now you can fully and easily connect to the instance. Another way how you can connect, you don't need to use like the system manager, session manager directly. It will be visible in the instances. When I will go to Bastion host and I will click on connect, you see here. So you will have EC2 instance connect, session manager, SSH client. Oh, this is nasty. And the session manager, just click on connect and it will again contact the system manager, session manager and open the instance for you. So that's who am I. You will see who am I. And again, SSM user, I will exit from that one. I will close it. And what we should do and what we should see in S3 bucket, there should be new log. Let's check it. I will go to Hackytech bucket for this bucket. And you see here, there are two different logs for two different sessions that I already have. When I will go to session manager, the system manager, the session manager, I should be able to see in the session history, another session with new bucket and with the new info, no, not new bucket, new entry in the bucket. And you see here that there's this output location. So this is the simple way how you can have Bastion hostless access to your EC2 instance whenever it is running there. Isn't that cool? Thank you for watching today's episode, staying with me to the end. Don't forget to subscribe and see you next time. I hope that you will stay with me. So, thank you again and have a nice day.